This 6-minute steak is about to change up how you whip up dinner. It's gonna be simple, it's gonna be easy, and it's gonna be hella grown. Welcome to yet another episode of Miss Mandi Throwdown. If you're new here, I am Mandi Sarro, and you are in on a ride. Now this recipe right here is super simple. Let me just say, a lot of people are always asking me which cut of meat will deliver really good results, especially if I'm looking to pan fry the steak or something like that. Well, first things first, I'm gonna need for you guys to start asking your butcher what cut of meat they're giving you, especially when they just kata for you, when they just cut it up for you. Ensure to ask. Today we're using top rump, which comes from the rear. If you wanna be nasty, we could say booty, from the booty of the cow. And this is a very inexpensive cut. Why? A lot of restaurants use this as a steak, actually, because it's lean, and this one just has a little bit of fat, how I like it, and it takes very little cook time on the stove. I'm talking 6 to 8 minutes, depending on the thickness of the, of course, steak that you've gone ahead with, and it requires just high heat. If you choose to go the stew route, it's gonna be slightly tough unless you've of course browned it and then you add it into the stew. I don't wanna talk too much. Let me grab my meat tenderizer and show you guys what I'm gonna be doing to this meat. We're gonna be using this. You can use a rolling pin as well. And before I do that, let me give you a quick rundown of our ingredients. We have about 2 onions here that I've thinly sliced. You can go less as well. We have instant coffee. Trust me, you're gonna need this to add that color and just like a little bit of depth of flavor. It's completely optional though if you feel like, I don't wanna use coffee. We have freshly ground black pepper. We also have salt and clove. I know you're like, clove? Yeah, we're just gonna be using a hint of it just to give it some grown up flavor. This is like the grown version of like steak. That is why I like it. So now we're gonna be taking our meat tenderizer to flatten down the meat. And just in case you're wondering, oh, okay, so I got the meat, it has this like butcher smell. Listen, make vinegar a pantry staple for you, because a teaspoon of vinegar or 2 teaspoons can help get rid of that gamey smell. So you need it. So now we're just gonna hit this with salt, and the higher you season the meat, the salt flakes can fall actually better on the meat. However, again, that's optional, but most chefs of course do that. Freshly ground black pepper. And we're gonna go in with our coffee. I'm just crushing it as I sprinkle it. And if you need all the measurements, they are in the description box below. We're going to ensure to season both sides, so we're just gonna flip this over and do the same thing all over again. So we're adding in the ground clove, and I'm just sprinkling just a little bit of it. You don't have to go too crazy with it. And now that we're done with this, we're just gonna heat up our pan and get it nice and hot. You can use a non-stick pan. I'm using a cast iron for today. And then we're just gonna let the oil get hot. Now that our pan and oil is nice and hot, we're adding in our steak. It's been about like a minute and a half. As you can see, the coffee is already doing the magic, making sure we have like a nice color. So I'm just flipping these over. This will definitely take a little bit more time to cook because you can see the thickness to it. In about 5 minutes, the steak looks beautiful. Just gonna take it out in order for it to rest. You can of course cook this for a minute longer if you want. So we're gonna set the meat aside to rest. And in the same pan, we're just going to add in just a little bit of cooking oil. And then we're just gonna add in our onions. I'm gonna have to turn down the heat to low. And you'll see that the onions are gonna pick up the color that's in the pan from the coffee that we used on the steak. And the best part is, you just need to leave them in here to cook nice and slow. You can see they're slowly catching on to the color. I'm just gonna go ahead and cover this. so that the moisture just helps them cook through. Okay, it's been about 1.5 minutes. The onions have been cooking. You can see they're getting soft. I'm just adding a pinch of salt. And you can see they're picking up the color really well. So whenever you cover something, there's usually moisture. And of course, that moisture drips back into the pan and it helps you pick up all the flavors in the pan. And now that I've added a pinch of salt, toss everything, I'm just gonna cover this. And in the next minute or so, we'll be ready to serve. Now that our onions are ready, we're just gonna go ahead and serve. Now this dish reminds me of this restaurant that's located in the CBD, and they really love to like make steak and they serve it with loads of onions and it's like so delish. So a couple of days ago I was like craving it, so I was like, let me make it just like they would, but the grown-up version. Hence why we have the clove, we have the coffee. This is a grown-up version of like literally steak with lots of onions. Of course you can serve this with whatever side that you like. You guys already know, I always say the best part to my job is always tasting my own food because I like to put things in my mouth. Now, this steak right here is next level. I don't know about you. I know there's people who are just like, is it cooked through? It took little time. You know, like I like to show you the results, baby. I specialize in results. And the beautiful thing is, again, the thinner the steak, the less cook time it takes, and you'll have dinner ready matter of minutes. Let me do what I do best. Put this in my mouth and let you know how it tastes like. So goddamn good. Spicy. The clove is adding a great kick. And now I gotta try it with the onions. I don't want to be the person who hypes you. I want you to be a person who's a believer. Because if you become a believer, you become a throwdown lover. And how do you do that? Try out this recipe, recommend this recipe to somebody, and once they throw it down, you're just gonna tell them to tag the throwdown queen, right? You're just gonna tell them to do that. This recipe is going to be a game changer in your home, and I'm looking forward to you throwing it down. All you need to do is leave a like if this episode was just for you. Make sure you subscribe. If you've not joined and you're just lurking, like, what you doing for yourself? Join us. Tukona vibes uku. And lastly, make sure to share this video. Until the next episode, I just want to say keep eating delicious. If not, then you're not trying out Miss Mandi Throwdown recipes.